Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. We are here today recording a bonus episode of Your Therapist Needs Therapy. Just me today talking about Thanksgiving, turkey, Trump, and trauma. What an exciting year we have to go be with our family of origin and deal with political conversations around a forced family meal. So, what do we do? Holidays are stressful times. I have sort of joked, sort of been just transparent with people that in my line of work, all I do in the month of November and December are talk about family of origin um, drama and or trauma. So this year seems even more fraught. I think a lot of us are collectively still burnt out from gestures broadly. I don't know, everything. I'm a millennial and I've never had a break in my lifetime, certainly not my adult life. Came out of college in a recession. I mean, it came out of grade school on September 11th, 2001. I didn't graduate then. We had Columbine, September 11th, a war, a financial recession. Then, it was kind of cool because we had a first black president for a little bit, and then we elected a racist, and then, a global pandemic and another recession and a housing crisis and a mental health crisis and a couple genocides. It's really not great out there. So you might be, not well resourced heading home, whatever that means for Thanksgiving. So what do we do? I've had some people reach out to me. A lot of my clients obviously talk about this with me, but I've also had some people reach out on Instagram asking about, hey, the Christo fascists got elected. That's not great. I'm going home to see a bunch of Christo fascists. How do I navigate that? What should I do when they try and talk about Jesus? And I'm like, you clearly don't believe in Jesus. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the religious trauma implications of a holiday around a cultural, not even cultural, just a straight genocide, a holiday that celebrates genocide and also gluttony and capitalism, and how to navigate that so that you don't want to just pull your hair out. Spoiler alert, you might want to pull your hair out. So, tip one from a licensed mental health professional, a licensed marriage family therapist, don't go. Just stay home and do your own thing. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving with my family because I don't understand what there is to celebrate. I support celebrating gratitude and being thankful for things. And I think we can do that at a time that isn't meant to celebrate colonization. So our Thanksgiving is our Harvest Fest, which is at the end of September. It's in September because that's when we bring in the last of our harvest. It's not because global warming keeps messing things up, but in theory, that would be the time of the year in our hemisphere where we would be bringing in our last harvest. So we have a big meal and a feast, and we do a gratitude tree then. So we already did our Thanksgiving, my family. So Thanksgiving Day, as America, the United States celebrates it, is really just about eating a turkey. And I have little kids who don't want to eat turkey, so it's really just my wife and I eating turkey and mashed potatoes. We do the food, and there'll be football on, but just Packer game because I'd watch the Packer game whenever it was on. So there's really nothing about this holiday. We don't watch the festival or the parade, which is again just like capitalism. It's like a 90 or 120-minute ad. I don't know what the nostalgia is there. As a millennial, I missed the Macy's Day Parade being an exciting thing. It's very slow and boring. The floats are kind of cool, but there's not enough of them, so they just fill it with here's this thing you can buy. I don't really want to watch football that's being streamed on Amazon, which is just going to be ads after ads for buying shit on Amazon. So anyway, option one, just don't go. If you're not tight with your family and your biological family does not happen to be your chosen family, just don't see them. And that's an option, right? If I'm the first person who's telling you that, ta-da! I know that holidays, especially in the United States, of Thanksgiving and Christmas are very much about family time. But if your family does not treat you like family should, then don't see them, right? Family, just by blood relative, isn't necessarily your chosen family. They're not necessarily the people who are going to treat you best. So if it is an option for you to not go and you don't want to, then don't. The idea that we need to go home, there might be a pull, and some people might even say like a biological pull towards going home for this type of things, wanting to feel connected, wanting to feel loved. But if the realistic expectation you have is that you will not feel connected, you will not feel loved, you'll feel like an outsider and leave feeling worse than when you went, just don't go. You don't have to. You can get like just a little turkey breast from the store, cook that in the oven. You don't have to do any preparation or anything for it. It's seasoned, just pop it in the oven or your air fryer or whatever. Have pizza. There are people who exist that aren't white Americans and they don't celebrate Thanksgiving the way we do. They might, they are allowed to, but like your local Chinese restaurant is going to be open on Thanksgiving, open on Christmas. Like just go get something there, do some takeout, support a local business. So yeah, option one, don't go. If that ship has sailed, you are planning to go to Thanksgiving. You have committed, the plans are made, the flights are booked, or if you're a Midwesterner, you're going to drive for 10 hours because that seems close enough to drive. You're going to go, you're going to be around a bunch of Trumpers, you're going to be around a bunch of people who voted for Trump and defend it because eggs are expensive and don't understand that's about inflation and corporate greed, not about who's the president. Gonna try and not get real political, but it's hard when the title has Trump in it. Yeah, so not great. I talk about and have talked about for years the holiday escape hatch. I wrote a blog about it. It sort of explains the concept. It's just sort of your escape pod. It is literally an escape hatch given the circumstances where you're going to be. So let's say you're going to Gangi's house and it's a 3-bedroom ranch and there's going to be 20 people there. Sounds awful, by the way. What's around? Is there a local park? Is there a walking path? Is there a 7-Eleven down the road? Just thinking through like what you can use as a reasonable excuse. And it doesn't need to be like valid. I say reasonable there to just be like good enough. You're going to go grab a snack. Your car needs gas. You forgot a phone charger and need to go pick one up. Whatever. Like thinking through what's around in your local geography that you can get out of. Are there pets? Maybe we can take an animal for an exercise. Maybe we can go check on the kids' table, gather up some young ones and go shoot hoops or go to a local park. Whatever is available to you, that's your escape hatch. The Schumacher Classic, an oldie but a goodie. My grandpa Ralph was kind of an old curmudgeon. He was a smoker, and when he quit smoking, he still wanted to go outside and be away from everyone. So what he would do is he would go read the meter, like the gas meter. And I think they've changed gas meters, at least in Wisconsin they have, where they're no longer outside. They used to be outside of your house. And so he would just like be gone for a couple hours. And if anyone ever caught him, his excuse was he was reading the meter. But A, that doesn't take hours. And B, he's like a truck driver. So no reason to read the meter. And also 100% success rate. And the man got away with it every time, to the point where the younger generation has adopted this excuse as a fantastic way to get out of something we don't want to do. Gonna go read the meter. It's just code for like, I'm not gonna keep participating in this and I don't have to give you an excuse as to why. I just get to. And that's the thing, like you just get to. If you want to leave your family gathering, you can. If you only want to pop in by Meemaw and Papa's for an hour, like do that. The fact that they want you there for the entire day doesn't actually matter. It matters to them, but it doesn't have to matter for you. You don't have to live your life around what other people are expecting or wanting of you. You can just do you. And so you're going to pop in, get some of those sweet, sweet desserts, and then peace out before any drama happens. Like, great. They might be disappointed, but that's their emotional work to do. That's not yours to do. You don't have to meet their expectations. You have to meet your expectations because you can only control you. So yeah, if you want to leave for a little bit, if you're staying over, let's say you are traveling out of state and you've got a couple days, just think through where you can take breaks. Like obviously going to whatever room you're staying in, but go to the bathroom, splash some water on your face, take a lap around the house. Lots of options available. And again, I think you don't have to excuse yourself. You don't have to dismiss yourself. I do think it is good to have like an accountability partner so someone knows where you're at. But like, one of the things about American culture and the NFL is problematic, and my fandom of it bothers me. But like again, there'll be football on, there's TV, there's other distractions. Go look at the ads for the Black Friday sales. Like fuck capitalism, and also like protect your peace. So if you need the space, come up with any reasonable sounding excuse and execute that. We want to have that holiday escape hatch planned out before we go, because in a moment of high stress or crisis, your brain isn't good at problem solving. The frontal lobe, where our executive functioning, being able to problem solve, being good communicators, thinking of past events and projecting them into the future, all that stuff turns off when we're stressed. So as our brain sort of hunkers down and hoards resources for this threat we're dealing with, it is not good at problem solving. So we want this holiday escape hatch planned out ahead of time. If you're staying at a resort, if you're, you know, vacationing somewhere, whatever that looks like, kind of think through, where can I go? What's my escape hatch? I like to have something that involves changing your physical environment. So going for a walk, going outside is really great. If we give our brain new stimuli, it has to process that. So changing your physical environment changes your mental environment. So I think that's a really great idea, just to think about like, where can you go? Where can you walk? Worst case, or oldie but goodie, most basic, excuse me, I need to run to the restroom. Go splash some water on your face. Say you have IBS, whatever you need to do. Spend a half an hour in the bathroom. I don't care. Right? Like, so take care of what makes sense for your mental health. Again, plan this ahead of time. If you're road tripping, if you're flying, whatever it looks like, even if you're driving 20 minutes down the road, like you got time to plan this out. I think it is worthwhile to make this plan. If you're traveling with a partner, multiple partners, family members, dependents, whatever that looks like, communicate your plan so that people know what it looks like. Talk about how you can support each other in executing the plan so that you sort of know where you're coming from and where you're going, and that everyone gets the break that they need. I work with a family, and we were talking about their Thanksgiving plans, and like each member of the family had a little bit of a different escape hatch, but everyone knew each other's, and it was all just sort of like this almost bonding moment where they knew each other's escape hatches and how they could support each other. And then they were cool with like, hey, I got you. When we need this, like we'll do that. Everyone gets their break once a day because grandma can be a lot. Um, so that's like basic, you know, that's every holiday. I've been a mental health professional for 15 years. Like that's every holiday I've ever done therapy during. Holiday escape hatch, solid. This year, with an election, you know, since Trump was elected, and the religious right has started using the word mandate because they just like this really triggering imagery. That's like a Christian nationalist thing, a mandate from God. This is what the NAR, the New Apostolic Reform Movement, is what Speaker Mike Johnson is a part of. It's what David Barton, who's a failed historian. I don't want to call him a failed historian. What's like failed? He tried to be a historian, but is like so bad that he can't get published when he tries to write history because he's not doing history; he's doing fiction. Uh, it's what these guys are a part of, and so they have this idea of like, oh, their specific reading, misreading of scripture means that they have a mandate from God to take over the world, as opposed to like being good stewards. Or a lot of what the Bible says, they're like, this one section says we get to rule, so that's all we're going to care about. You know, not the part about like taking care of foreigners or feeding the hungry or clothing the needy, none of that stuff. And certainly not the part about rich people not getting to heaven, or that we should give all our riches away. Not those parts, just the one part about ruling. Um, so yeah, that language is meant to be triggering. That language is meant to like evoke some version of like manifest destiny, which again is just propaganda. Like it's just propaganda. It's not a mandate. Trump won by less than anyone did since Bush v. Gore. So not a mandate. 40% of voters didn't vote. You know, I don't know. It was a weird election too, where a bunch of like Democratic senators won, but then Trump won. So like we haven't even figured out who voted and why they voted, like because it's so it's so against what normally happens. I was gonna say ahistorical, but like in a way it's historical in that like this has never happened before. Such a weird voting block. So yeah, but since Trump was elected, we've seen a lot of online activity. I'm not sure because again, this holiday will sort of be a bellwether for us on how much of the asshole behavior we see online comes out in person. But we've seen a lot of assholes come out of the woodwork after Trump got elected. All your right-wing trolls, all the pedophile apologizers, or just pedophiles themselves, the Andrew Tates of the world, um, neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes, like a lot of these folks, Matt Walsh, who's just a moron, Ben Shapiro, also a moron. What's the other one? Steven Crowder, who's a sexual harasser, serial sexual harasser in the workplace. Russell Brand, sexual abuser. Jordan Peterson, certified moron. All these grifters are coming out of the woodwork and being like, it's a mandate, and just ratcheting up their trollish behavior because they think like they're popular suddenly. So I think there's going to be like a fuck around and find out pretty quick for a lot of these people that like it only works if you're really wealthy and white and straight. So, like, sorry, Peter Thiel, your party still hates you because you're gay. I don't know why you're supporting them. Elon Musk not having a happy Thanksgiving, his family hates him. So, yeah, these people are like, woohoo, we're popular, but they're really just popular online. It's not like Trump has seen a surge in popularity. He's still deeply unlikable because he's a rapist and pedophile and a moron. So, yeah, your grandpa who voted for him 3 times in a row might think he gets to talk about Trump in a way that he hasn't before, or maybe he was like a little bit more respectful. He might be worse now. The misogynists think that they get to be misogynistic. One of Trump's first things he did, and he's not really been on camera much because probably his dementia is so bad, but one of the first things his transition team has let out was Matt Gaetz, under investigation for having sex with a minor, was going to be his attorney general, and that Matt Gaetz has since stepped down from that role. Already, we're having a lot of turnover in the cabinet, but that was on purpose, right? Like, so some messaging there, to distract so that we can get people like sexual abuser apologizer Mike Huckabee onto the cabinet and no one cares. Because that should be like dramatic enough and headline grabbing. And it wasn't because Matt Gaetz is the thing. But also just like messaging that like, I will protect the serial abusers. I will protect the sexual assaulters. I'm on the Epstein list. So I, Donald Trump, sexual abuser, will protect the other abusers out there. So again, like I think some of the messaging around misogyny, some of the messaging around like we have a mandate, this deep patriarchal stuff that comes from the right wing political side and religious side are just, it's about patriarchy. So it's about power control. So it is, I think, scarier. And not only is it just more asshole behavior, but I think it will be like threatening behavior, potentially violent behavior. I mean, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I also don't want to like sugarcoat things. So yeah, I'm sort of expecting more family fireworks this year than the past couple of years. I think people will be shittier about stuff. And so the question then is like, do you want to stand up for what you believe in? Do you want to fire back? Do you want to be shitty back? Like, how do you respond to someone who's racist, misogynistic, bigot? And like, again, I go back to step one, don't interact with these people. Don't go see them. But so we can do like, set some boundaries. I'm not going to engage in that. I'm not interested in talking politics or religion with you. We know we don't see eye to eye on that. It doesn't seem useful to talk about it. That's all good and well. I think setting those boundaries is great. Excuse yourself if they're not respected. Certainly, if people aren't using your pronouns or misgendering you, people are being shitty about, who you're dating because they don't fit some sort of prescribed gender norm or just being openly racist about stuff. Like don't interact with that. I think setting a boundary is a great step. I think those boundaries are less likely to be respected this year than in previous years. I'm shrugging for those of you who are listening on the podcast. Like, I just think that sucks, but also the reality. And then, I think also moving into like part of the political messaging that worked well was calling these people weird. And I don't know why Democrats stopped doing it, other than Democrats are deeply invested in losing elections by shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, like you can be really dismissive of some of this without needing to engage. Like somebody who wants to say that Trump is a good person, like you don't have to engage with them. They're wrong. And we don't need to like convince them of that. They're not interested in being convinced. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of evidence. There's a mountain of evidence before he was even elected, let alone his first 4 years as president. So I'd just be like, ew, yuck, yeah. Just like dismiss it. right? So one of the things that's really disarming for authoritarian control, for patriarchy, for hierarchical leaders, for any sort of like totalitarian fascist type stuff is to be dismissive of it, and to just not take it seriously. And like obviously that comes with some risks for a society, but on an interpersonal level, like very little. Like we should be making fun of these people on the regular. I know on a structural societal level, people are like, well, that's why Democrats lost because they keep calling people stupid. Like, well, yo, like people are stupid. Half of Americans can't read above a sixth grade level. And I'm not besmirching people who have reading disabilities and need more resources. I'm besmirching people who think that looking up something on Facebook makes them well versed to disbelieve experts. We should call those people idiots. They are morons. The do your own research crowd that thinks Googling something counts as research are idiots. We can be dismissive of them. So I think it's one of those things where kind of like understand what's your safety level, what's your support. Obviously, if you're like a solo person at your family of origin gathering and you don't have any support, probably the more antagonistic thing is far riskier. So just make sure you're safe and accounted for there. If you're traveling with your friends, your chosen people, your partner, whoever it is, I think you can be more just dismissive of it. I think that works really well, depending on like your ability to execute that and also stick with it, right? So if you're like, ew, yuck, and then you like go into it, like that doesn't work. You just need to sort of be like, ew, gross, and then move on. And so if you can do that, I think that works really well. If you've got some great comedic timing, it can probably be really funny and makes for some good stories later. Share your funny stories of being dismissive of your misogynistic, racist, homophobic bigots down in the comments. I would love, love, love to hear them. Maybe we'll do like a holiday reading. That would be fun. Not enough people watch my videos for that. I'm just pretending. But yeah, just be dismissive. Again, it's weird. It's unpleasant to support a rapist. I don't know who's still like, I love Harvey Weinstein. I'm gonna watch all his movies, or like who's playing Bill Cosby records. I think Kevin Spacey movies are harder to avoid, like Usual Suspects. Still good, but like I've thought about watching it and I've chosen not to because Kevin Spacey, ick, right? That ick just does a lot. Ew, yuck, gross, and then move on. So that's what I've been recommending a lot for people this year. That's new, right? I've done the Thanksgiving, the holidays spiel for a long time as a mental health provider, and this is the first year I'm just sort of been like, don't engage, like just dismiss it and move on. I think if you have people who are willing to engage with you in conversation in good faith, obviously you can do that. If you feel like you have some sphere of influence, if you feel like you're safe and well resourced enough to engage with that, I think you can. If Gam Gam's been racist your whole life, like you're not going to convince her that Trump's a bad person because he's racist. If someone is supporting the Catholic Church and has their whole life, you're not going to convince them that Trump's a bad person because he abused a minor. It's the Catholic Church's whole shtick. So, knowing your audience and understanding like, is there space for this, or am I just banging my head against the wall? Am I doing it so I feel good about myself that I stood up for what I believed in, but I am personally miserable after the fact? Like, I don't think that's worthwhile. Doing that math or cost benefit analysis seems like a lot of costs and very little benefit. Like, you can stand up for yourself in lots of places, in spaces where you're going to do more good than just banging your head against the wall and feeling miserable and disconnected. I'm also a big fan of like Friendsgiving, doing something Saturday, bring your leftovers and get together with people who like get it, who are concerned about the climate, who want to help out at a local food shelter, who, instead of doing Cyber Monday are going to donate to charity. Like, great, hang out with those folks. And like, look, it's tough out there. If you want to buy stuff while it's on sale and you got little kids and you need to hit the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales because Christmas is expensive, like I see you. Like, I'm not trying to say like you can't do those things or you need to feel badly about them. I'm talking specifically to the crowd of people who are like well resourced enough to be like, this sucks, Trump sucks, the genocide sucks, Christian nationalists suck, what to do. yeah, get together with your chosen family. I think on the religious trauma piece, like Trump's just very triggering. He's surrounded himself and he's using a lot of religious imagery. The right wing political machine and the religious right have been married for a long time since Brown v. Board Education. Like the religious movement in politics is just rooted in racism. Uh, they didn't want to segregate, or they wanted segregated schools, and that's where like private parochial schools came from. It's where school choice is born from. The panic around transgender people in bathrooms is just like we used to want. Not we. I'm not putting myself in here. Americans used to just want white bathrooms only. Like it's just segregation. They're picking a smaller, less well known, less well defended group of people because most of us aren't overtly racist anymore. What a shitty sentence to have to think through is like, wait, is there a really big caveat I'm missing? Racism still obviously exists. I think, again, those overt things are less likely to pop up, although this Thanksgiving might be the time where they come out. And again, like if you're around some of this stuff, just leave. Like if someone does something so overtly disgusting that you don't want to be around them, then don't be and like leave. Some of this is like Donald Trump isn't suffering any consequences because he's a rich white man, but like your shitty aunt or uncle could experience some consequences and maybe they would learn from it. Some of these people learned from January 6th when they were slapped with a felony or lost their jobs. So consequences still matter for regular people who aren't insanely wealthy. Different set of rules for the rich. That's always been true. We're just like seeing it very openly in America right now. But yeah, the religious trauma stuff, again, if you've got someone in your family who wants to go to church, wants to go to mass, wants to go to synagogue, whatever it is, and you're like, you voted for Trump and you taught me to care about other people, to treat people how I'd like to be treated. The golden rule is there in a lot of the different religious institutions, and none of them are practicing it. I don't want to say none of them are practicing it. Individuals might be practicing it. There is no religious group that's practicing this well. I think, yeah, like call people out. Somebody messaged me and said, like, hey, do you have any resources for someone whose family is Christian nationalists to show them that like what they say they believe in from Jesus is not what Trump stands for? And I like sort of LOL was like the Bible question mark. But seriously, like I really recommend the book Jesus and John Wayne if you're looking to start pulling on that thread. I should have come up with a list. There's a lot of books about white American Jesus. Fantasyland by Kurt Anderson comes to mind. Some of these things that show. Maybe I'll do a list in the show notes. I got you guys. Do show notes. A list of books around this. But Jesus and John Wayne is like the myth of like American white masculinity and American white Jesus, like the Christian nationalist movement as a myth. Like John Wayne was a draft dodger and not a good human, and like put him on TV and he's this hero for shooting the brown people. I don't understand who like John Wayne or who's appealing to. Deeply problematic figure in real life too. So yeah, there was recently my most played songs of the year came out, and John Wayne was a Nazi. The cover by the Canadian punk band Fucked Up and the Hallucination, formerly known as Tribe Called Red. I love those guys, and so when they covered John Wayne was a Nazi, that got played a lot. Apparently, just got put on a lot of playlists. It's in my top 5 most played songs of the year. So I'm there. But I recommend the book Jesus and John Wayne a lot too. So I think that's a good resource. I mean, I think if someone's saying they're Christian nationalist, they've lost the plot on both Christianity and being an American, which has always been like a deeply propagandized concept. So I don't know. I don't know how to define that for people, but it's certainly not about being a melting pot, and diversity makes us stronger anymore. Late stage capitalism's kind of shitty, and the way that ends is it gets shittier before it gets better. So yeah, oftentimes I think when I'm working with religious trauma and when I'm trying to get people who have left a cult or have left a certain religious group and still have family members in it, there's some like, I don't want to say tit for tat, But a lot of times the religious crowd still wants you to like read their shit. And even though you were raised in it and you know all of it and they're not going to convince you of anything, sometimes saying like, if you read this book, I will read your book. Like, sure. Again, that's not a great indicator of someone wanting to actually listen to you. I was raised evangelical fundamentalist. So like, you know, converting people is what they do. And so if someone was like, I will read your book if you read my book, it's like they're just doing that to try and convert me. They're not actually, they might read my book, but like not with an open mind. Like, so again, I just think about sphere of influence. I think about, is someone really open and willing to have this conversation with you? If they voted for Donald Trump and claim to be Christian, like I don't think those things are compatible. And 80% of white evangelical males voted for Donald Trump. So like there's a lot of folks out there who are doing both of those things. They watch Fox News more than they go to church. Like it's propaganda. It's modern brainwashing, um, and like it's culty. I don't know. Like I would say MAGA is a cult. Like yes, as a religious trauma specialist, I would say that comfortably. I would also say Christianity is a cult comfortably. It's very obviously a cult. It's just we don't consider it because it's big. Um, but a group that is, you know, worth billions of dollars and hoarding land and property and covering up serious sexual abuse. I'm gonna just wait for you to think about which group I'm talking about because the joke there is it's more than one. Uh, yeah, I don't know. That's a cult. If it was 30 people and they were hoarding wealth and money and land and probably guns and covering up sexual abuse, we would know that was a cult. Like that's Branch Davidians. Waco was very famous cults. Like, right, just expand that throughout history and for a number of members, and you still have a cult. So, yeah, it's not always easy to get people out of a cult when they want to stay in the cult. It's doable, but uh, it's really hard. So again, just thinking through that sphere of influence, what are the consequences people are suffering right now? Not a ton. The fact that you might leave Thanksgiving a day or two early might be the most consequences they experience, and until they are experiencing some real life consequences, they're unlikely to change. People who are in a cult are unlikely to leave without it negatively impacting their life. If they feel best supported in that space, then they're less likely to leave. It's when they start to see their leader go to jail, which like missed the boat on that American judicial system. Uh, you know, so yeah, some real life consequences, losing their job, losing their friends, losing their family, like those are real life consequences. They might be willing to step out. They might just go deeper into the cult then too. So that's where some of this stuff being like deeply online and like 4chan, 8chan bullshit, like it's kind of weird. That's why like Gen Z males got sucked into it so much because like I don't know, there's not a culture to sort of catch them and for them to be great with. So, anyways, this was less helpful than hopefully I thought it was going to be. But don't go if you can't. Do your escape hatch. You can engage with someone who's open to having a real conversation. Feel free. Um, anyways, little bonus episode, little mini episode. We'll be back next week with another new episode on the podcast. We're Therapist Needs Therapy. If you're watching me on YouTube, like, subscribe, share it. I appreciate all that stuff. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Peace.